I never believed in miracles, not really. I grew up in a world where science answered everything, or at least tried to. My father was an engineer, my mother a doctor, and faith was just another word for comfort, a way for people to explain what they didn't understand. I carried that same logic into adulthood. Equations, data, and metal, that was my language. I fixed things that were broken, not people, not faith. That night, the desert was silent. I had driven out past the old mining route, looking for quiet after a long week. I remember the sky, impossibly clear, like the universe itself had taken a deep breath. Then, I saw it, a blue shimmer flickering in and out above the ridge. I thought it was a meteor, but it didn't move like one. It stopped, hung there, and then it fell, straight down, without a sound. By instinct, I grabbed my flashlight and tools and drove toward it. Curiosity has always been my curse. The crater wasn't large, maybe 20 feet wide, but at its center, half buried in sand and glowing faintly, was something that didn't belong to this world. It wasn't metal, not in the way we understand it. The surface pulsed, almost organic, and every time I touched it, it reacted, shifting patterns, forming lines that reminded me of circuitry and veins all at once. Then I heard it, a faint hum, almost like a voice, but mechanical. I stepped closer and the air thickened. My flashlight flickered. The sand beneath my boots vibrated. And then I saw a movement, a figure crawling out from the wreckage. It wasn't like the movies. It didn't have a large head or gray skin. It looked human, too human. The only difference was its eyes, entirely black, like pools of ink, but strangely calm. It was injured, holding its side, a faint glow bleeding through its torn suit. I froze, unsure if I should run or help. Then, it spoke, not with its mouth, but inside my head. You fix things. The words weren't a question. They were a statement. A fact it already knew. I nodded, more out of confusion than agreement. My pulse raced, my breath uneven. The being tilted its head, and a strange light rippled through its suit. It pointed toward the wreckage. Help me restore it. I can show you truth. I didn't know why, but something in that moment felt bigger than fear. My hands moved before my mind caught up. I approached the wreck and began examining it. Panels, fractures, connections. It was a design beyond comprehension, both mechanical and alive. I used my tools, soldering where I could, stabilizing ruptures, connecting cables that felt like tendons. The being watched me, silently, as if studying my every thought. Hours passed. The desert grew colder. My hands trembled from exhaustion, but the machine began to hum again. The light pulsed, matching my heartbeat. And then, as I reconnected the final segment, a surge of energy flashed through the sand, and the being stood tall again, uninjured. It turned to me, and for the first time, smiled. You have done more than repair my vessel. You have restored what was broken long before you were born. I didn't understand. I didn't even have the strength to ask. But then it placed its hand on my shoulder. In that instant, I felt everything. Warmth, peace, light so pure it made my eyes sting. And then, within that light, I saw something. A figure, standing on a hill beneath a burning sky. He looked human, too. But his eyes held eternity. The alien whispered, almost reverently, "Now, I will show you Jesus." At first, I thought I was hallucinating. Maybe the desert heat, the adrenaline, and the sleeplessness were twisting my mind. But what I saw wasn't imagination. It felt real, more real than anything I had ever known. The air around me shimmered, folding in on itself like rippling glass. The desert vanished. I was standing somewhere else entirely, a vast expanse of white light that pulsed like a living heart. The being stood beside me, though now its form was changing. The human appearance melted away like mist, replaced by something radiant. It wasn't light exactly. It was structure, patterns of geometry that breathed and moved, each line humming with resonance. It looked like an infinite web made of thought and energy. I couldn't comprehend it. My mind tried to assign meaning to what I saw, but every definition shattered under the weight of it. "Do not be afraid," the voice said again, not from outside, but within, vibrating inside my bones. I wanted to speak, to ask what this place was, but words didn't form. My mind reached out instead. Where are we? Between what you call time and what you call truth. The light pulsed, and in its center, an image began to form. Not projected, not imagined, but revealed. It was a man, standing, dusty, bloodstained, beneath a dark sky. I recognized the face, the wounds, the crown of thorns. Every painting, every story, every sermon I had ever ignored flashed through my memory. Jesus, but not like the pictures. Not the gentle man from stained glass or Sunday school. This one radiated something beyond comprehension. Power, sadness, and infinite love interwoven. His eyes met mine, and in that instant, I felt every secret I had ever buried. Every sin, every lie, every moment I had turned away from meaning. All of it reflected back at me, yet without judgment. Only understanding. The alien, or whatever it was, spoke softly beside me. He is not what you have been told. None of them are. Before I could ask what that meant, the image shifted. I saw flashes, not scenes from the Bible, but fragments of galaxies, civilizations, and beings kneeling before that same figure. Some had wings like glass, others had no form at all. Yet they all worshipped him. The message burned through me. Jesus wasn't just human history. He was something far, far larger. Your people were not the first to know him. The being continued. Nor the last. He is the axis upon which all creation turns. I felt my breath catch. My knees buckled beneath the weight of that truth. I wanted to scream, to deny it. It was too much. My mind couldn't reconcile the man I saw on church crosses with the cosmic being pulsing before me. But every part of me knew it was real. Then the being turned toward me, its black eyes flickering with light. We were there when he spoke the first word. When the sound became matter. We have traveled stars carrying that sound, the sound you call faith. I looked around. The white expanse was now filled with shapes, shadows of beings, countless, vast, kneeling in silence. The alien placed a hand over my heart. You fix my vessel. Now I fix yours. A surge of warmth spread through my body. Memories surfaced, my father's death, the emptiness I carried, the disbelief I clung to like armor. All of it cracked open. Light poured through those fractures, not blinding, but healing. I whispered, barely audible. Why me? The being smiled. Because you still fix what others throw away. Then the light shattered, and I was back in the desert. The wreckage was gone. My tools were scattered. The sand was untouched. No crater, no scorch marks, nothing. Only silence. The sky above was beginning to lighten, the first blush of dawn stretching across the horizon. I sat there for a long time, trying to breathe. My hands trembled, still warm from whatever had just happened. And then I saw it. A mark burned faintly into the sand before me. A circle intersected by 3 lines, glowing softly. It faded as the sun rose. I thought it was over. I was wrong. That was just the beginning. For the next few days, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the same flashes, that infinite light, the bleeding figure, the alien's black eyes reflecting something divine. It wasn't a dream. I knew it wasn't. I felt it deep inside me, humming like a vibration that wouldn't stop. I tried to return to my life, repairing engines at my small workshop on the edge of town. But nothing felt the same. The machines I used to understand so easily now looked primitive. The circuits felt wrong, as if I could feel the energy flowing through them in ways I never had before. Even people seemed different. When customers spoke, I could sense their fear, their pain, hidden behind smiles. It terrified me. 3 nights later, it started again. I was closing the shop when the lights flickered. The air grew heavy, static dancing across my skin. I froze, not out of fear, but anticipation. Something inside me knew it was coming. Then I heard it, a low, rhythmic hum, like the one from that night in the desert. I turned around. The same circle and line symbol was glowing faintly on my workbench, carved into the metal without any tool. My hands began to shake. Before I could react, every bulb in the shop exploded at once, and the room was drowned in blue light. When it faded, he was there again, standing exactly where I'd been seconds before. The alien looked unchanged, calm, almost serene, though his form shimmered like a reflection in water. You saw, he said. You remember. I swallowed hard. What was that? What did you show me? He tilted his head slightly, as if searching for the right human word. A fragment. The veil is thin now. You must decide what to do with what you've seen. I shook my head. I didn't see anything I can understand. Jesus, galaxies, beings. What was it? Was that heaven? Was that? He raised a hand, and the sound around me seemed to stop. Not silence, absence. Even my own heartbeat paused. Then he stepped closer, his eyes glowing faintly. Heaven is not a place. It is the frequency of truth. Your species once resonated with it, before corruption altered your perception. I stared at him, trying to comprehend, but he continued before I could speak. The one you call Jesus. He entered your plane to remind you of the resonance. We all serve the same origin, but your kind turned his message into a boundary instead of a bridge. My stomach dropped. You're saying Jesus was? Not was, he interrupted. Is eternal. The sound that became form. He touched my forehead. A blinding flash consumed me again, this time not peaceful. Violent. I saw flashes. Men carving crosses, ancient temples burning, soldiers kneeling under alien skies, a figure in light walking among both humans and creatures I couldn't name. The same figure, Jesus, reaching toward both, uniting them. When the vision ended, I fell to my knees, gasping for air. The alien knelt beside me. Your people buried the truth because fear is easier to worship than understanding. He reached into his chest. Yes, into, and pulled out a small, glowing orb, pulsing like a heartbeat. This is a memory, a fragment of what you saw. Hide it. Protect it. There are others who would destroy it before it awakens in you. I held out my hands, and he placed the orb in them. It was warm, alive, and impossibly heavy for its size. I looked up, ready to ask what he meant, but he was already fading. When the third light appears in the sky, he said softly, "Follow it. You will find what remains of him." And then he was gone. No flash, no sound, just gone. The shop was silent. The orb pulsed weakly in my palms, then dimmed to a faint glow. I stood there for what felt like hours before realizing something horrifying. The orb was syncing with my heartbeat. Every thump of my chest made it glow brighter. That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I whispered into the dark, "What are you doing to me?" No answer came. But as I finally began to drift into sleep, I heard something faint and distant, a whisper so quiet it almost wasn't there. "I am not doing anything. You are remembering." And for the first time in my life, I dreamed of him, not as a man on a cross, but as light falling through galaxies, reaching out to me. The dreams kept coming. Every night, I drifted into the same vastness, a place made of light, geometry, and sound that wasn't sound at all, but thought. And always at the center of it stood that being of light, the one who had appeared as the alien. It never spoke words in the way I understood them, but entire meanings sank into me like gravity. One night, the vision changed. I stood in the middle of a great spiral, stars and worlds turning like cogs in some invisible clockwork. The light being's voice reached through the radiance. "This is what your kind calls creation. You stand within it, yet you rarely look." The spiral pulsed faster, and images appeared. Cities, temples, spaceships, billions of lives scattered across worlds I'd never seen. Some worshipped, some built, some destroyed, all bound by the same silent rhythm that linked everything together. When I woke, I sat upright in bed, heart racing. The orb I had hidden in my desk drawer glowed faintly through the wood, matching the rhythm in my chest. I knew I wasn't dreaming anymore. Something was changing me. By morning, I decided to test it. I drove back to the desert. The sky was overcast, unusual for that time of year. I parked near the same ridge where I had found the crater, but the ground was untouched, as if the crash had never happened. I walked in circles, scanning for any trace, until I found a single object half buried in sand, a small shard of the alien vessel, metallic yet alive with faint ripples. When I touched it, the world around me blurred. The sand, the wind, the sound gone. In their place came a faint vibration through my fingertips, and then a voice that wasn't mine. "The vessel is not gone. It has shifted, as you will." The words pulsed through the shard and up my arm, leaving trails of light across my skin. I dropped it, stumbling back, my breath sharp. But when I looked again, the shard was gone. Only the impression of its shape lingered in the sand. That night, the orb grew brighter. Lines of light stretched across my hands and arms whenever I got close to it. I could hear a faint tone inside my skull, like a continuous chord that grew louder the longer I ignored it. I didn't tell anyone. Who could I? Even saying it out loud felt insane. A few days later, I began to notice things in people. My neighbor, Mrs. Clary, an old widow who came to the shop every week to fix her lawnmower, carried a sorrow so strong it shimmered like a heat wave around her. A friend of mine, Mark, who laughed too much at nothing, had an emptiness behind his smile that echoed like static. I didn't just see them anymore, I felt them. Their fear, their loneliness, their tiny sparks of hope flickering like candlelight in the dark. It wasn't empathy. It was awareness. The light being's last words replayed in my head. You will find what remains of him. I didn't know what him meant anymore. Not a person, maybe not even a god, but something alive in everything, waiting to be remembered. A week later, the third light appeared. It was late, close to midnight, when the sky cracked open. 3 orbs of white fire hung motionless above the desert, aligned in a perfect triangle. The entire town saw them. Phones lit up, news stations scrambled, people prayed, screamed, cheered. But to me, it wasn't chaos, it was a calling. The same vibration in my chest surged until I could barely breathe. The orb in my drawer responded, humming louder and brighter than ever. I grabbed it, shoved it into my jacket, and drove. The desert was alive with light when I arrived. The 3 orbs hovered low, swirling like living suns, and beneath them the air shimmered. My car died as soon as I got close. I stepped out and walked the rest of the way, the orb in my jacket pulsing faster and faster. Then, from the sand ahead, shapes began to form. Not solid, not shadow, but something between. I could see right through them, but their presence was undeniable. They looked human at first glance, but their bodies shifted constantly, fluid and luminous. There were dozens of them, maybe hundreds. And then, in unison, they all turned toward me. The repairer arrives, the voice said, not one voice, but many, layered over one another, harmonizing in perfect resonance. The air trembled. I could taste electricity. You carry the memory. You have seen the fracture. I swallowed hard, gripping the orb. What do you want from me? Not want, they replied. Need. The resonance is fading. You are the bridge. Before I could respond, the ground beneath me gave way to light. I was lifted, weightless, suspended inside a beam that felt like being pulled apart molecule by molecule. I should have been terrified, but instead, there was calm. The beings surrounded me, their forms merging with the light. Do you see now? And I did. For a moment that stretched beyond time, I saw everything. The web of energy linking all living things, every world, every atom, all beating in rhythm to the same invisible pulse. It wasn't divine judgment or cosmic order. It was connection. Pure, endless connection. Then it faded. I fell to the ground, gasping, sand sticking to my face. The lights were gone. The desert was silent again. The only thing that remained was the orb, cracked open in my hand, its light bleeding out into nothing. Inside it was something small, a fragment of metal, etched with the same circle and line symbol. I turned it over and saw new words glowing faintly along the edges. Truth is not what you see. It's what you become when you stop hiding. I didn't know if it was meant for me or for all of us. But I knew one thing. My life as it was had ended. The world would never look the same again. I didn't tell anyone what I saw that night. You can't walk into a diner and tell people the sky opened and 100 light shapes called you the bridge. They'd lock you up. But someone must have seen something, because the next morning the whole town buzzed about the desert lights. By noon, unmarked vans rolled through Main Street. Men in plain clothes asked questions, polite but rehearsed. They showed badges without logos and carried clipboards with nothing written on them. I watched from my shop window as they spoke to locals, collecting stories, phones, even security cam footage. By evening, one of them came to me. Tall, military haircut, calm voice. Mr. Hayes? Yeah. You were out near Dry Ridge last night. A lot of people were. He smiled like that answer amused him. Mind if we take a quick look at your truck? I didn't mind, but I kept my poker face while my pulse hammered. The cracked orb sat hidden under the floorboards in my workshop. They searched the truck, found nothing, thanked me, left a card that only said Federal Liaison Office and a number. I didn't call. That night I couldn't sit still. Every shadow outside looked like a silhouette. Around midnight, my radio hissed. Just static, then a voice buried deep in the noise. You are not alone. They monitor the frequency. I ripped the power cord out, heart pounding. I hadn't used the radio since I was a kid. It wasn't even plugged into an antenna. The next morning, I found my shop door open. No signs of forced entry, but all my tools were rearranged, precisely, neatly, like someone had cataloged them. The only thing missing was the small patch of floor where the orb had been buried. They'd found it. I packed a bag, took cash, and drove. For 2 days I stayed in motels, keeping to back roads. Every gas station TV ran the same story. Unexplained military exercise. Optical illusion from weather balloons. The official line. But in shaky cell phone clips online, the lights looked identical to what I'd seen. And new footage kept appearing from Nevada, Utah, Arizona. Whatever had started in my desert was spreading. On the third night I met her. She knocked on my motel door around midnight, small, dark-haired, wearing a windbreaker that said Southwest Geophysical Survey. "You're the mechanic," she said before I could speak. I froze. "Who are you?" "My name's Mara. I know what you fixed." I almost slammed the door. "You've got the wrong guy." "No," she said calmly, stepping closer. "They're coming for you because you touched it. You changed it. Now it's changing you." Something in her tone, steady, tired, certain, made me listen. She explained that she worked with an independent observatory network tracking electromagnetic anomalies. The first spike appeared the same night I saw the crash. Another spike had just registered 3 states away. "It's not just lights," she said. "It's rewriting magnetic fields. Power grids. Mines." I asked what she meant by mines. She didn't answer. Instead, she handed me a thumb drive. "Watch it when you're far from cell coverage. And don't let anyone scan it. They'll know." Before I could ask who they were, tires screeched outside. Black SUVs. Mara grabbed my arm, dragged me through the bathroom window, and we ran into the dark. We hid behind a billboard off the highway while headlights swept the parking lot. Men in tactical gear kicked down the motel door. I watched them tear apart the room. Mara whispered, "They're not after proof. They're after control." We waited until dawn before moving again. I drove while she watched the sky like it was alive. Somewhere between the miles, she told me the thing I didn't want to hear. "Whatever you touched out there, it's not alien tech. It's older, and it's waking up." We didn't speak for the first hour. The hum of the car engine and the occasional distant coyote were the only sounds as we drove through a canyon road Mara claimed was off all grids. The thumb drive sat on the passenger seat, innocuous, metallic, cold. Somehow, I knew it wasn't ordinary. When we finally stopped, Mara pulled a laptop from her backpack. She set it on the hood of the car, shielding the screen with her body. "No cell networks. No satellites," she said. "They can't track us, not yet." I nodded, though every nerve in my body screamed otherwise. She plugged in the drive. The screen blinked, then a single file appeared, res0nance.log. We opened it. The first thing I saw wasn't video or text. It was a wave pattern, sine waves that pulsed across the screen, impossible in scale, each line moving with a rhythm that matched my heartbeat. Then, a soft static hiss filled the car. At first, I thought it was interference, but the sound began to form. Words. Whispered, layered, overlapping. "Remember, bridge, awake, not alone." Mara froze. "It's not audio. It's embedded in the waveform. They're talking to anyone who touches it." I felt my skin crawl. The whispers grew louder, but not in volume. In presence, like shadows pressing against the inside of my skull. I clutched the steering wheel. "Listen closely," Mara whispered. "They're not speaking to your ears. They're speaking to your perception." I tried to pull back, but my eyes were glued to the screen. Another layer appeared, symbols forming in the wave, spirals, circles intersected by lines, shapes that made no logical sense but resonated with something deep inside me. "It's aware," I managed to say. "It's responding." Mara nodded, her hands trembling. "And they know we're listening." Suddenly, the static shifted. The car radio, which hadn't worked for months, flickered to life. A distorted voice cut through the hiss. "Don't let them know, don't awaken." We looked at each other. My pulse slammed against my ribs. I knew, instantly, that this wasn't coming from anyone in the canyon. It was from the drive itself, or from whatever had sent the signal into it. Mara started running decryption scripts. Lines of code scrolled down the screen at a dizzying speed, but even in the chaos, patterns emerged. The waveforms pulsed faster, reacting to our movements. I felt my mind stretching, my thoughts tugging towards something I didn't understand. Then came the images. Brief flashes at first. a desert, a crater, faint silhouettes of figures walking across sand, bending light around them. One figure stepped forward, the same one I had seen when the alien first appeared, but now I could see multiple versions scattered across the globe, each one tethered to a glowing thread of energy, vibrating in sync with the waveform. Mara whispered, almost to herself. They've been here for centuries, embedded in human history, observing, waiting. I felt a chill. Waiting for what? The laptop crackled, then a new sequence played. Low resolution, night vision. Shadows moved in patterns I couldn't immediately recognize, bending around impossible geometries. And then a single shot of a familiar object, the orb. It sat on a pedestal in a cavern lined with metal panels and flickering lights, surrounded by faceless figures watching it. I tried to speak. That's mine. Mara placed a hand on my arm. And now they know it's awake. They'll come. The whispers from the waveform became louder, angrier. Shapes flickered across the windshield, almost human, almost not. Every nerve in my body screamed that we weren't alone, that we had crossed a threshold we couldn't undo. Then, without warning, the screen went black. The whispers stopped. Silence, heavier than anything I had ever felt. From the darkness outside the car came a slow, deliberate sound, a vehicle engine. Not a distant hum. Right there, on the road behind us. I grabbed Mara's arm. They found us, I said. She didn't answer. She just started the car. We drove into the night. The waves from the laptop etched into my memory, the whispers still humming inside my skull. And all I knew was that nothing, not the desert, not the lights, not the beings I had seen, would ever let me go again. The desert blurred into a smear of motion, headlights slicing through endless dark. The sound of the pursuing engine was steady, patient, mechanical. It didn't roar, it hunted. Mara gripped the wheel with both hands, her knuckles white. The laptop was open between us, the dark screen occasionally flashing as if something inside was trying to come back online. The silence between us was heavier than the hum of the tires. They're not using radar, Mara said quietly. They don't have to. That thing, it's broadcasting a resonance signature. It's how they track. I turned to her. You mean the orb? She nodded. It's not technology the way we think. It's biological, maybe psychic. They left it as a beacon. The road twisted sharply, forcing her to slow. In the rearview mirror, the other headlights grew closer, too close. My chest tightened. Can we destroy it? I asked. She shook her head. You can't destroy something that doesn't exist in just one place. A shadow crossed the road ahead. Quick, tall, human-shaped but off. I blinked, but it was gone. Mara didn't react. I wasn't sure she'd seen it at all. Keep your eyes open, she murmured. The laptop flickered again, and a single line of text appeared. Do not run. A line. What the hell does that mean? I muttered. Mara's jaw tightened. It means they don't want to chase us. They want us to synchronize. Before I could respond, a beam of light swept across the desert behind us. White, circular, humming. The car's electronics stuttered, the dashboard lights died, and the engine coughed. We coasted to a stop in silence. The only sound left was the wind. Mara reached for the laptop. Don't move, she whispered. Her voice trembled, the first time I'd heard fear in it. The beam grew brighter. Dust lifted into the air, swirling like smoke. My ears popped. And then, out of the white haze, emerged a figure. Not quite human, not quite light. Its movements were too fluid, too precise. The shape of a man, but with edges that shimmered, glitching between outlines. Mara, I breathed. I see it. The figure stopped a few meters away. Its voice, or what replaced it, came as a vibration through the air, a deep resonance that buzzed in my teeth. Return the signal. Align frequency. The laptop screen flared to life, showing two overlapping waveforms, one pulsing slowly, one erratic. They were trying to match. Mara's fingers flew over the keys. They're not talking to us. They're talking to the device. It's trying to sync, to open something. The air around us began to hum, vibrating like a live wire. The figure stepped closer, and I could see its face, or what was left of it. A blurred imitation of human features, shifting every second. It looked like me. My throat went dry. Why does it look like that? Because it's using your perception to form shape, Mara whispered. It's reading your mind. The figure raised a hand. The laptop beeped. Both waveforms locked together perfectly. Synchronization complete. Access granted. The ground beneath the car cracked. A deep, low rumble echoed from below. Not from the earth, but from something beneath it. The lights in the distance flickered like the stars themselves were responding. Mara's voice was steady now, controlled. They're not chasing us anymore. They've activated it. Activated what? She turned to me slowly, her expression pale but focused. The link between dimensions. The figure outside began to dissolve, not vanish, but expand, as if unfolding into a dozen translucent layers. I could see through it now, through time, maybe, through possibilities. And in every version of that space, I saw something repeating. The orb, the waveform, and me standing in front of it. The vibrations grew unbearable. The laptop shut off on its own. The car doors unlocked with a soft click. Mara looked at me, calm and resolute. "It's not the end," she said. "It's the invitation." The last thing I remember was the light, pouring into the car like liquid silver, burning through my vision until the desert, the sound, the fear all vanished. Then silence, and a voice. Not Mara's, not mine. "Welcome back." When the light finally faded, I was alone in the desert. Mara was gone. The car was untouched, the laptop silent, and the orb lay on the ground in front of me, dim, almost ordinary. My heart was pounding, but my mind raced faster. I picked it up. The pulsing was faint now, but still there. Not loud, not commanding, just alive. And somehow I understood that whatever had happened wasn't over. It was waiting, watching, waiting for the next alignment, the next person who could perceive it. Footsteps crunched behind me. I spun, expecting the shadowy figure, the SUVs, anyone. Instead, it was Mara. She looked exhausted, dirt-streaked, but alive. "You made it," she said softly. I couldn't speak. I only held the orb. She nodded toward the horizon. "They're gone. At least for now. But you saw it. You remember. That's what counts." I stared at her. What was it? All of it. The recordings, the lights, the figure. She shook her head slowly. "Not aliens. Not magic. Not gods. Not yet. Just something humanity buried a long time ago. Something that understands resonance, perception, and the choices we make. It's been waiting for someone who could fix it, like you did. Or at least survive it." I swallowed. The weight of the past few days pressed down on me. "So it's still out there?" Mara smiled faintly, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Yes, and it will find someone else eventually. But we know now. That's enough. We survived." We walked back to the road. The sun was rising, spilling gold across the desert like a promise. Cars would pass soon, towns would wake, people would see nothing unusual. And that was the point. Whatever we'd witnessed wasn't meant for them. Not yet. I pocketed the orb carefully, feeling its faint pulse against my palm. It was calm now, dormant, but it had left its mark. I could feel it in my thoughts, in the way I perceived the world, a rhythm in everything, a subtle vibration that no one else would notice. Mara turned to me. "We don't tell anyone. They'll never believe. And if they did, it would only bring them closer. That's the danger. But you understand. That's what matters." I nodded. Hopeful, yes, but uneasy. Something had shifted inside me, a knowledge too big to ignore, too fragile to share. The desert around us was quiet, normal, but I knew it wasn't. The orb, the waveforms, the figure, all of it was still out there, waiting, watching, waiting for the next person to awaken it. As we walked toward the highway, I realized the truth. The world would go on, unchanged on the surface, but beneath it, something ancient, intelligent, and patient had stirred. And I had touched it. I didn't know if anyone else would ever experience it. Maybe they never should. But for the first time, I felt a connection. Not divine, not miraculous, just real, terrifying, exhilarating, and alive. The desert wind blew across my face. I kept walking, Mara beside me, the orb tucked safely away. And in the back of my mind, the faint pulse remained, a reminder that what we had uncovered would never truly leave us. Hopeful, yes, but the world would never feel the same again.